there. How you doing? How's your day been? Hello.
Let's skip the whole "it's been a while." I know, I'm sorry. But hey, Halloween is coming up, so that's gonna change. Today's video is more of a creepy old man, but it's an attempt at a version of Hoggle from Labyrinth. But you can probably use this for some kind of pretty crazy old makeup, or like a troll. Anyway, let's get started. I have shown my poor man's bald cap before on this channel so many times, so I'm just going to go through this hella quick. In general, you cover your head in cling wrap and then cover it in liquid latex. I will say this to you though, typically these caps don't cover all your hair, so make sure you cover those sideburns and or eyebrows in Vaseline for protection. I did cover up the sideburns a little more with tape since I was going over the whole area with latex and didn't want to risk it. And I also built up the shape of my ear with masking tape since Hoggle and most crazy old makeups I have seen have huge ears. This is pretty intuitive, just make sure you have the tape on both sides or it will flop around, adding more tape to round it out like a real ear and not an elf ear. Don't worry if it's not super smooth or ear-shaped, we will add some cotton and latex, which I apparently didn't record much of, but basically just drench small amounts of cotton in latex to build up the shape and merge this fake ear with your real one. Given my prosthetics are pretty relevant to Hoggle and not most makeup you would be doing with this kind of look, and you can get some much better prosthetics at places like mostlydead.com that have these foam kind of old age makeups. I'm not going to show you how I made my prosthetic. It was a latex build up on a sculpt, and I have filled the big cavities with cotton and latex. It pretty much stuck up when I lined it up with my face, but I definitely recommend using a proper adhesive and adhering it on fully because this didn't move very well with my face. Given I was going for Hoggle, who is a creepy muppet, the less movement and fakeness wasn't really an issue. I did make sure to blend the edges with cotton and latex, or just latex depending how ridged the edge was. Be careful not to spend too much time blending an edge where you're going to add more wrinkles with cotton and latex later. Like if you can see on the sides of my face here, I didn't blend these edges, but I added more chops to the side of my cheek to blend it in. I didn't have a prosthetic for my neck, so I built that up with latex and cotton in shapes I could see on both Hoggle and older neck reference pictures. This will hurt a bunch to remove later, BTY, unless you have shaved all the peach fuzz off your neck. I also built up my upper lip as Hoggle's top lip is very flat and his mouth is very wide. I then added my second half of the prosthetic very similarly to the first. I built the lip up and other parts up as I knew this huge nose was just going to get in the way. You can see here I had to use a brush to blend the edges of the nose. Here's a good time to remind you that latex will ruin your brushes. You can try and pick most of it out when it's drying like I'm doing here, but I still don't recommend using brushes that you like for it. Hoggle has some interesting wrinkles and divots. They're kind of more like turtle scales, and I'm trying to recreate those here. I ball up and shape things with cotton and latex. To make things easiest, you kind of lay down the latex where you want the piece, soak the cottons outside, place it where you want, and push and prod it into shape with a spatula type thing dipped in latex. Having both dipped in latex will make sure they don't stick as much together. I did this both on the forehead and kind of the side crow's-ear kind of areas. I only built this up on my face because I thought I would lose a lot of this kind of detail in a latex build-up, but I don't recommend doing anything like this as it will make everything take a lot longer. Now to make this skin coloured, I covered everything in foundation, well, everywhere that was dry. Now high coverage is great for beauty, but we want the skin to look a little more realistic, so I'm splattering on lots of different skin tones for texture and variance in colour. This is also because Hoggle was a lot more sun-spotted, tan, and probably a lot dirtier to be honest, because I doubt there's a lot of showers in the labyrinth. I pat out anything that is a little bit too stark. I also added more red splattering to the noses and cheeks, areas that are typically more red, but I went a little too crazy, and plus my whole face was a little too orange in general for Hoggle, so I grabbed some more yellowy white foundation mix and ran it over some problem areas, and then I ended up splattering it everywhere as well. I didn't show this bit because it's really kind of dodgy, but I built up Hoggle's kind of hat with cotton and latex and am now painting it brown. Then to get some more deepness out of the eye sockets that he has, I used some shadows. I put way too much brown on the first one, so we'll ignore that. For my second, I used browns, greys and purples to deepen mostly just the socket and crease area. Now I am deepening the wrinkles to make them look dirtier and to make them stand out more. You can see better the weirdness of his wrinkles here. It's definitely more stylistic than realistic. I'm firstly using some Mehron dark brown paint for this, and while it does look super stark now, don't worry, I take some foundation to soften and blend it later. I'm personally looking at a lot of pictures of Hoggle for this, but feel feel free to refer to more realistic Wrinkle references of your own. Also, I add a couple of big paws in the nose and cheeks since the cheek and nose areas are kind of lacking detail and it looks a little stark against the rest of the face. That's another tip for you. If something looks wrong or looks empty, change it up or add some things, even if you're going for a character. Makeup is art, and as long as you're safe, there isn't really much wrong that you can do. And here's the foundation-y blend step I mentioned earlier. I decided this look could use with some strobing. Alright, it's not your typical highlight job, but skin, especially skin with no makeup supposedly on it, does have a sheen and oiliness to it, so I added a little bit of highlight. Of course, be careful, use it sparingly and only in the typically oily areas. Hair time. You may have noticed the back of my head looking a little dull and boring, and that's because I'm going to cover it in hair. I'm using this chunky wool for this, given that I only need to remove one piece of string before it's fine to use. And it ends up being like a very frizzy kind of crepe hair. Feel free to use crepe hair if you've got it though. I use a mix of grey and white wool for this. I think it's called wool roving, and I painted some of the white robing with brown and oranges for Hoggle's eyebrows since his eyebrows don't match his hair. To glue it down requires some finagling with lash glue and liquid latex. If it's looking a little too full and luscious, feel free to tug the wool. Some should pull away. But to make the eyebrows more dimensional, I first laid down brown in some of the areas, and then in between those bits I'm using the orangey brown kind of eyebrow hair. Also, if you can, get the Hoggle hair to cover up the back of your bald cap and the bits of your hair peeking out. Now, if you're doing this for some kind of event, fancy dress or theatre thing, be prepared. Your sexiness may cause people to fawn over you. I'm just saying. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Keep your eyes on this channel since Halloween is coming up and I have so many plans. Stay classy, peeps.
Hello. How are you? Is your day been well? I look so weird. This is how weird I look. You kitties. I do not feel like Hoggle. I feel like the weirdest, creepiest old man ever.